Hello, today I'm gonna break down this book right here, the Chaldean Oracles of Zoroaster. It's pretty interesting. Zoroaster is, well, in the Greek it's Aster star, so I don't know where I was going there. But Zarathustra, the name in Persian, where he comes from. Well, like the people that accepted his religion, Darius, a king, that was able to convert and effectively after that convert the whole kingdom. But the people that he came from are split into Zoroastrians, the Persians, as well as India. It's written in the same language, or at least like a variation of it. And I'm very interested in these things because its connection from India onto like the Scythians and eventually into the Germanic peoples, and there seems to be a very interesting connection between the Indo-European peoples. And also, Zarathustra, though this is not really an accepted theory anymore, but I like the theory. I think it's spot on, and even if it isn't, it plays the usefulness that I desire for it to have. And that is, the Zoroaster said that there was one God, and said that all of the Hindu gods were demons, because the Hindu gods are something you just create in your own mind, you worship around, and it's very useful. People don't even have this ability to create things in their mind and then to use them. But the thing is when you realize that this power is created by you, the concepts aren't really gods to which you owe your acquiescence or your, I don't even know if I use that word right, if you owe your servitude to. I mean, they could be energies that are created, because I do think that that's a possibility when your mind sends a signal, and especially if a group of people were sending a signal of a similar sort, which can be tuned by your moral behaviors and your emotional state, being can tune, say, like the signal you're producing, and you guys all producing the same signal about the same entity or whatever. I'm sure that can give some sort of power that would surface somewhere on the other side of the world. And I'm sure that human minds aren't the only one making up the biological internet. And maybe even there's a internet of the cosmos kind of thing, where signals can be picked up by us from the cosmos. There's no way of knowing whether or not that's a thing either. But if we're gonna have a pure respect on which we're gonna approach truth, the only thing that we can recognize is that the all is one, and there is one nature to it, and we need to find that nature, and that's the approach towards science. See, we're not. I don't think we're grateful enough for the things that produced science, the magic and the Hindu Kundalini, where the serpents of energy of the masculine and feminine spindle up the spine and reach up in the third eye, where you can see things as they truly are. And after you see things as they truly are, the next point is the 1,000-petaled lotus that explodes at the skull to represent the infinite expansion of your consciousness. Once it reaches a certain point, when you attach to the way of the eternal nature and escape this finite being. But it shouldn't all be about escapism when you're talking about spirituality here. There are people who do astral projection and stuff like that, try to leave their body or something. there's something in Gnostic traditions, I think, that is spot on. When the gods, or God made us, or God and his council made us, if you want to see it that way, when he made us finite. And the way that we were made, they were saying that the heavens saw that our light burns so, our light shines so brightly that it outshined even some of the gods. And they were jealous of this, and they wanted to keep us from having that power. And the power is our ability to create different realities because we're finite. When you're infinite, you are subject to the infinite reality. You have to live by it. Now, it's better to live by the infinite reality because that is the way of existence. It lasts, and like going with the way of existence is better than going against it. But with our limited perception, we actually can create ideas that aren't true and play into that vision and keep working on it until you create something that is true. And that's the whole perception humanity has of potentiality. Like, potentiality is not anything real. It's not anything tangible. It's made up in our minds, just like time. And that's what gives us more power, is this thing that actually isn't true, really, but is made true by the fact that we can see it. That's the crazy thing about potentiality. But let's read some of this. Let's read some of this. Just the first thing. I'm gonna skip the forward. Maybe get to that in another video, but I want to read the first thing. All right. There's the monad, the duad, and the triad. There's the nature of the one, the nature of the duality, and the nature of the three, which is in all things. Where the paternal monad is, the monad is enlarged, which generates duality. So, when the fatherly figure, which is the one, which is the all, when he's recognized as your father and someone for which you are loyal to, the concept of him is made larger. And now, with loyalties to him, the world is made into a duality. For you no longer align to various things, but you align to good versus evil. You would not pollute your mind with things that would destroy it, and you would only encourage things in your mind which would make your mind better. That is the power of recognizing the monad as the father. For the duad sits by him and glitters with intellectual sections, and to govern all things, and to order everything not order. So the duad. So one nature has to sit by the other. There's always a law of polarity. When there is one nature, there's the nature on the other side. And so one nature often has to sit by the other. And it glitters with intellectual sections. I'm just going to try to interpret that. I would say there is much to learn from both sides. There are things that can improve your life in the realm of evil, in the realm of good, but you should do the realm of good because the realm of evil will only lead to evil. You cannot worship evil gods and not reap evil. And to govern all things, because the interesting thing, and I think in the Gnostic path, I think they get this right too, that the archons, the rulers of those who are aligned with things that are evil, because it works. It works. It makes civilization and everything bend to your will. Those aren't good things, but they work, and we have these choices in this world. And unfortunately, the physical things are the things that govern all things. But that is why we must understand the natural law and comply with it. That way we can make ourselves, our family, and our people greater. And to order everything not ordered. I think that, in my opinion, would be the other duality, the good. Because the good is something that is non-physical, yet at the same time makes, for some reason, these people like us want to go against entropy and to create things. See, that's not natural in the universe. Not at all. Everything just destroys and gets worse and withers away. Life and intellect are the only things that have ever been able to create things. So that's the nature of the good, which does not exist in this physical reality. For the whole world shines the triad, over which the monad rules. This order is the beginning of all existence. So they're just saying the nature of the triune is in everything. And the monad, the father, is the one that rules over the triad. For the mind of the Father said that all things be cut into three. It's saying it right there. Whose will assented, and then all things were divided. So their will was assented, so their will was made manifest, and each of these three natures were the way in which the universe was divided. Good, bad, neutral, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, which is really mind, spirit, and breath, the relationship between your mind and your spirit. You can consider the spirit fire, and the intellect you can consider the Father, and then the breath, wind. So then there's the Father, the fire, and the wind. That's a triune nature. There's many triune natures. I'm not going to break them all down by like. There's some. There's with the other gods, but I can't remember them at the moment. The whole praying when you rise and when you rest, and then in the midday. Anyway. For the mind of the eternal Father set into three, governing all things by the mind. Because first things come by thought, then they go by word, and then there is the deed. So have good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Zoroaster himself would say so. And there appeared in it these three virtues and wisdom, and great variety. In this way flows the shape of the triad, being pre-existent. See, he's saying that the triad was formed in his thoughts, and the thoughts precede existence. As I was saying, thoughts, words, deed precedes existence. And not the first, but where they are measured. For thou must conceive that all things serve these three principles. I would say so, yes. Everything is serving or in the nature of the three. The first course is sacred, but in the middle, and another, the third, ethereal, which cherishes the earth in fire. See, This is Zoroastrian stuff. The fire is the only element that reaches towards the heavens. It is also that which gives light and darkness. It is one manifestation of the sun in the heavens. See, the first course is sacred. The first course is the Father. The third is ethereal. It is nothing. And the second course is in the middle, between the two, saying only what is needed in that verse. And fountain of fountains, and of all fountains, the matrix containing all things. I'm gonna leave that up for you guys. I don't want to break that one down. I don't think I understand it well enough. Maybe I'll read it some more and it'll come to me. Usually that's how it works. I just read these texts and eventually a revelation might come as to the meaning of it, especially when you read more from the period about it, or you find some sort of spiritual thing to get into, because that really is the best way to figure out like how people think at a certain period of time. I also have a terrible memory, but it's super receptive researching, so it works. It works out. I just do what I love. Truth is what I love, and it's what I wanted to preach. I wanted to be a pastor at one point, but I just feel it's missing part of the picture. It's missing a large part of the picture, really. And how am I to know? Especially with the data that we have. The Bible is a shitty version of the original document. It's been copied 1 million times. And I'm just guessing probably more. I don't know. But it's a lot of fucking copies. And, surprise, surprise, they're not all the same. So, when the Bible says that his word will be preserved for his people for all time, I mean, I would say actually the Old Testament's actually pretty well preserved. With some varieties, they took things out, but it's pretty well preserved. The New Testament, on the other hand, is not very well preserved at all. Our agreements as to what is the New Testament is not very well preserved at all. Maybe it's like Nag Hammadi scripture or something. I don't really know much about that, honestly, so I can't say. But what I do know is that that prophecy is not fulfilled in the Christian people, that as we know as the Christian people. It actually was pretty well maintained in the Catholic Church, but look at the Catholic Church. If that's God's promise, people, you're serving the wrong God. That has to be the constrained vision. That has to be the wrong way, the wrong path. There's more that our minds can create and to do than this. Why would God create such a world, especially when the possibilities that exist in this realm that is created are far more? And that's why I started expanding my understanding of these things a little bit more and reading into different scripts. Well, I've always have, but I haven't really took a close look at Zoroastrianism. I kind of skipped over it. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't really read into it because, I don't know, I just kind of accepted the Abrahamic faith. I do think that it's fundamentally true that the one is the thing that is supreme and that matters most. When I was pursuing Hinduism before I chose to be more loyal to Abrahamic faith, before then when I was interested in Hindu ideas, I still tried to seek Brahman, which is the all. and is manifested in each person as Atman, or your spirit, because everybody has a piece of the Atman. One thing I disagreed with the Hindus and made me go maybe towards the Abrahamic faith is, if we all have a piece of the all, the Hindus believe that means we're all God. I think that's wrong. Very, very, very wrong. Because we are very, very, very small. Just based off of that. Let's start there. In the universe, we're very, very freaking small. So if we're a piece of God, we're not a very big piece. So that means that if we're a piece of God, God is still way more magnificent, way larger, way more crazy and intense than us. I do think that one thing that is fundamentally true and that we should focus on is that all our reality is created in our mind. Not as an ego trip or anything, but that is where we're limited to. Everything you see, everything you hear, everything you feel, everything you taste, everything you experience is not done out here. It's done in your mind. And your mind is, I wouldn't say a machine because I hate when they do that. It's a supercomputer in comparison to a machine, so it's not a machine. But your mind is like, what was I talking about? Your mind is... Oh yeah. Your mind is limited. So there's only so much you can do with it. It also messes up sometimes. You can't expect it to be perfect. Not everything you remember is perfect. You remember things differently from how they actually occur, oftentimes, if it doesn't matter to you specifically, because that's how memory works for some reason. It's whether or not it matters to you. Whether or not you care about something and what you feel about something is up to your control. And so you have a little bit of spiritual alchemy there, that you can reform your situation. Let's go on. Thence abundantly springs forth the generation of varied matter. Thence extracted a star, the flowering of glowing fire. Thence abundantly springs forth the generation of varied matter. So, I think that it's saying that with the fountains things, the matrix of all things, the matrix, the Maya, the illusion as to a physical realm that we think is physical, but really is just all energy. And it's talking about the fountains of all things, the center and creation of all things. Created the matrix of all things, and abundantly sprang forth the varied matter, or the very different manifestations of God. And thence extracted a star. So that then when things began to cool down, the stars were formed. And the flower of glowing fire, the sacred symbol of the Zoroastrians, the light, had now been made manifest. Flashing into the cavities of the worlds, for all things, from thence began to extend downwards their admirable beams. Let's break that down. Flashing into the cavities of the worlds. Going into the farthest reaches of existence. For all things from thence began to extend downwards their admirable beams. I think it's saying the pure sacred forms. Let me look at that. Extended downwards as admirable beams. And then when it went into the darkest depths of existence, I don't know if it's saying that, but I think I could see that it's saying that became corrupted if that's what it's saying, I believe. Flashing into the cavities of the world, for all things from thence began to extend downwards their admirable beams. Yeah. And with downward travel is a sort of degeneration. So, yeah. The divine light went into the cavities of the world and degenerated as it descended into the physical and material world. Well, that was the first set, the monad, the duad, and the triad. The next one is the father mind. That'll be all for this video. I hope, maybe, you guys enjoyed it. I hate that I do all that. I'm sorry. But you can like, you can subscribe, you can follow, you can just watch. I honestly don't care. Have fun.